Hello, everybody. My name is Stefan,
And I'm Kyle.
and this is episode 7 of Style Sports. We're going to start off with the playoff rankings for.
All right, so given that there are 8 teams left, where there's only 8 teams on this playoff power ranking. At the bottom of my power ranking, I have the Houston Texans, just for the simple fact that when you compare their offense to everybody left, their offense is about 50 tiers lower than everybody else's.
And when they play New York out anyway, it's
Mhm.
whatever.
In my number 7 spot, I do have the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just for the fact I have them because if you look at the 6 teams before them, I feel like this Kansas City, other than Tyreek Hill, they really don't. Their quarterback isn't the most dangerous. He's not. He doesn't have like a history of being a hot playoff quarterback, and their defense isn't all that shiny. They're kind of like a mediocre team, in my opinion.
I feel like most of their points, like their wins, were lucky because of Tyreek Hill.
Mhm.
Mainly the kickoffs return. I don't know. I don't know if I would put them that low, but what's your next one?
At 6, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers, which is a drop from number 1, which I had them last week. The reason why I have them, I understand, Brown and Bell had a big game, but
Monster game.
if you look at everyone else in the offense, not a lot of people really had a big impact. So they're going up against the Kansas City defense. They don't have the scariest secondary, but they have a pretty decent secondary. If you can shut down Brown, which has been, he's been shut down a couple games this season,
Yeah, and
it
and
really
and
affects their offense.
if you shut down the run game relatively anyways,
But
like
it's
Bell
hard.
had
Yeah,
120 plus yards and Antonio Brown also had 120 plus yards. You shut them down, they're gonna
it's
have
just
nobody
rough.
to pass to.
And another thing is that in the game in the fourth quarter, Mike Tomlin made a mistake because Ben Roethlisberger has an ankle injury, so that
Yeah.
takes away from his mobileness in the pocket, and it might be a big effect. I mean, early on in the season when he had a ankle injury, he played pretty bad. So it might play a factor in the game against Kansas City. We never know, but in my opinion, injury to quarterbacks always play a factor. So at number 5, I have the Seattle Seahawks. I have them
Yeah, I
down
would
here.
put them lower. I would put Steelers above them for sure. They
And the
have
reason
more.
why I have them a little higher than the Steelers is that they really got their run game. Their run game this season has been 4 different running backs. And I feel like last game they managed to get it click. I
Yeah, you got
understand Detroit,
120 plus yards,
yeah, 100, yeah, around there.
26 or
And
something.
he finally got it clicking. They got the touchdown. I mean, they got other wide receivers like Paul Richardson. He had
But
a
to be
couple,
fair, he had an amazing catch. Every one of his
yeah,
catches were ridiculous.
amazing. And he stepped it up. So I feel like it's gonna take a little pressure off Doug Baldwin and especially because they need someone to step up in the place of Tyler Lockett. So I feel like he did a good job in replacing wide receiver number 2.
I don't think they're gonna be
But
able to do it next week.
exactly, because I feel like Earl Thomas is the probably the best, second, third best defender they had, and probably the best secondary player they've had this season. And
Playing
it took a big
Atlanta,
hit.
right?
Yeah, and Atlanta has a high-powered offense, so I have them that low just because the offense just got clicking, and the defense still is not the same defense that we've known Seattle to have. So at number 4, I have the aforementioned Falcons. I had the Falcons here because, of course, like I mentioned before, they have a powerhouse of an offense. And with a quarterback that, you never know what can happen. Same thing with Julio Jones. He could just come up with a 300-yard game again. You never
Yeah, you
know.
never know, right?
And it'd be like, and their defense, they have mediocre players. You have good linebackers, good pass rushers, and good defenders. I mean, defensive backs. Number 3, I have the Cowboys, and for the Cowboys, I have 3. Patriots, I have 2. I have them here because they haven't. I have the Cowboys lower than them because the Cowboys starters, and I'm talking Ezekiel Elliott, Des Bryant, and Dak Prescott, and their offensive line, they haven't played a game in which would make it in 3 weeks, basically. And I feel like they need, 3 week break. 1 week break is good. 3 weeks is a lot, and I feel like, and they're not gonna forget to play the game, of course, but I feel like they're gonna be a little lazier. They're not gonna be as efficient as they could be as the Packers, who have played now a lot of games consecutively and are on a hot streak. So I feel like if the Cowboys low, same thing with the
And
Patriots.
also, what's it called? They've had a bunch of like, not really a bunch, but they've had some injuries and some changes of offensive line. For Dallas, not too big. Like, one guy got suspended. I don't know if he was a starter, but um, I don't know. I forget his name, but
It was a defensive end, Randy Gregory.
Right, okay. I thought he was
He got
defensive.
suspended for a year, but like
Alright.
he was never really a starter.
I
But he
think
was
one
a
guy had like an ankle injury or something on O-line. I don't know. But
mm,
maybe that could affect
the run game.
run game a little bit, right? And I just feel like I don't agree with Patriots a second, not because I'm biased, because I think the Patriots are on a roll. Um, Aaron Rodgers, I agree. I know your number one is the Green Bay because they are on a roll. He threw like 4 touchdowns. He's gonna it's gonna be hard to stop, but I feel like I don't know. It's gonna be rough. I agree. See, I want to say Green Bay won, but I can't because I feel like they're so close that they're tied for first. I don't know if you're allowed to do that, but I'm doing that now.
Sure.
They're tied for
The reason why I
first.
just had them a little bit above the Patriots is that, like I mentioned, they played a game and they're good. I feel like, but they're really close, 1-2. But I
Yeah,
separated them, so
I
I'm
just
just
put them
saying
as tie because I'm petty.
makes sense.
Alright, so let's talk about the games. So I'm talking about AFC, you're gonna talk about NFC. Let me get into it. So the first game I'm gonna talk about is Oakland versus the Texans. This was one of the worst wildcard games matchups, in my opinion, because both of their struggling offenses, with the injury of Derek Carr and a bunch of quarterback trouble for the Texans. They have Osweiler, Savage. Savage had a concussion. But Osweiler kept his, showed that I wouldn't say worth 72 million, but he's not worth nothing. So I mean, he came up in clutch. Um, and Connor Cook did get his first start of his career, which was, unfortunately for him, happened to be in a playoff game. And like I predicted, I'm 4 for 4. He broke under pressure, and he threw for 161 yards and 1 touchdown, but he also threw 3 interceptions. Final score was 27-14 for the Houston Texans, and they move on to play the Patriots. The next game, a little bit more of an interesting matchup, because last time they played, it was different. So between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Miami Dolphins, like I said before, last time they met up, the score was basically reversed exactly. It was 30-15 in favor of Miami. In that game, Ajayi, he rushed for 200 yards, and they even had Tannehill, right? Which is completely different than what they had this time. Um, he was kept to 33 yards on 16 attempts with an average of 2 yards per game. That is ridiculous. He got 200 yards last time they played, and they figured out how to stop him, and he only got 33 yards, 2 yards per game. That is ridiculous. What he got last time?
Hmm.
Um, and in that game, Antonio Brown didn't do very well, and neither did Le'Veon Bell. But reverse, they both had 2 touchdowns each, and they had 291 yards combined. I thought was also pretty good. So like I said, the Patriots are going to play against the Texans and the Steelers, Kansas City. That game is the most anticipated game in the AFC in my opinion because everybody thinks that the Patriots should hopefully sweep by the Texans, either the Steelers or Kansas City. So I feel like that game is going to be the most important to watch. Yeah, take it away.
Wait, so who do you have to win that game?
Oh, I put Steelers.
Oh, yeah,
So,
I'm also backing the Steelers for
yeah,
that
so I have
matchup.
Steelers, Patriots, and Patriots final. I'm 4 for 4. You're 3 for 4. But no, Raiders lost. But whatever.
All right, so I'm gonna talk about the NFL, the NFC games. So on Saturday, we had the Detroit Lions versus the Seattle Seahawks. So it was really not a
It's
landslide in
even
a sense, but it
obvious.
was, yeah. So Seattle managed to come away with a 26-6 victory. It was,
All these
so
games were shit. You can't even.
they weren't the best games to be honest. I think all the home teams in the weekend won. So kind of predicted in a sense to happen. They had the home field advantage. I mean, Matthew Stafford, he didn't have the. I mean, he didn't have a good game, but he also didn't have a bad game. He didn't have no passing touchdowns, but he did have
Didn't I tell
205
you?
yards.
Told you if they don't keep up if they have to. I told you like they have to put offense early. Like they can't keep doing. Um, they can't keep doing it at the end. Like I called this before. It's like if you're gonna be the fourth quarter warrior, like good for you. But like you can't get anything done, it's a bit of a problem. Like, I mean, they didn't get anything done in the first quarter. They got 3 points the second, 3 points in the third, and then nothing else. Seattle ran all over them. Russell Wilson had 2 touchdowns. Thomas Rawls had 161 yards and a touchdown. It was just not even fair. That's why I told you, once they crack under pressure, Matthew Stafford went 18 for 32 with 205 yards. So like he didn't do terrible, but it's just like I said, they had no rushing game. They had 47 yards.
Like it wasn't expected. They're coming against one of the best rush defense, so they weren't
Yeah,
expected to
yeah, I
come out
know, but I'm just saying
rushing the
they
offense.
no, no, but hear me out. They had like 47 yards and 15 of them were from their quarterback. So, bit of a problem. They got shut down completely on. They only passed to 2 wide receivers. Um, I mean, pretty pathetic game by the Detroit
No,
Lions,
they had
but
they had four wide receivers with receptions, but like it still wasn't the
oh,
best
sorry,
game.
the ones that are highlighted. Yeah, there's only one got 81 yards, one got 51 yards, and that didn't pop up because I guess they're not very.
The biggest game over the weekend was probably Green Bay versus the Giants. So the big question was, is there such thing as playoff Eli? In my opinion, I think there was glimpses of playoff Eli, and the biggest question around the match was the wide receivers.
Eli did fine.
Uh, yeah, but he didn't play like Eli Manning.
No, he
And
had 300 yards.
the other question for them was whether or not the wide receivers, that had a big headline with them going to Miami and partying on their off day. And many people say it didn't play an impact, but I think that it was such a big highlight that it distracted them because they were all trying to prove that no, it didn't distract us, but in fact, it did
I don't think
distract
that's
us.
it. Like, I mean, like, okay, like you said about playoff Eli, I'll talk about that quickly. Eli did very good.
No, he didn't.
He did.
He had bad inter. He had 23 for 44, so that's basically
No, but
50%.
no, no, but
He
like,
had
I mean,
300
most of his
yards.
throws, I don't know if you actually watched the game. Um, I did, but he threw for 300 yards and 1 touchdown, right? So
And an
obviously, and
interception.
an interception, but he threw so many
And,
passes.
and
So,
he had a fumble in the fourth quarter.
but yeah, that sealed the game for sure. But he had so many open wide receivers that he threw to, and they dropped. Like
But
he
there's only four. I mean, there's two touchdown drops, but there was four drops in the entire game. But I'm saying
and and
if
and a few that he should like. I mean, he did pretty good. I mean, you can't take it away from anyone who throws for 300 yards, 1 touchdown. Let's take away the interception and the fumble, but that's a solid game. I mean, you could have had.
the thing you can't take. He had a 72.1 quarterback rating. You can't take away the interception from him. He threw and he had and thing he trucked up all those passes. I mean, okay, let's say you take away four passes from him.
They,
That's
I
still
feel like
23
it
for
still would have
40.
been two
That's
more
still
touchdowns.
awful.
I know it's 20.
I mean, no, the Odell pass was overthrown. So I feel like
Yeah,
maybe
it was
the
in his
and
hands.
the and the
In
other
his
pass
hands.
to Sterling Shepard, that wasn't a definite pass. It was a good defense against him.
No,
And
I
I
mean,
feel like
it's just you
even
should
if
feel that you're in the NFL and you should be able to catch that. That's what I feel. I feel like it's not all Eli's fault. Obviously, the fumble problem, interception, bit of a problem, but that was a decent game by him. I,
okay, but it still wasn't the playoff Eli that we've seen throughout the two Super Bowl runs. But on the other side of the ball, the Green Bay Packers, who have been unstoppable, especially Aaron Rodgers, that now puts him at 20 over the last 7 games. He's thrown 20 touchdowns, zero interceptions, which is amazing. Randall Cobb and the Jordy Nelson went down early with a rib injury in like the first quarter. And there's another injury with New York Giants. Their DRC, he also went down with an injury within the first defensive play for them. But Randall Cobb stepped up to the plate with 116 yards and 3 touchdowns, and Devontae Adams, who's been that nice second receiver, put up 125 yards, 1 touchdown. I feel like they're just with the way they're playing heading into Dallas, who has a bad secondary. It
I
could
want
be
Dallas
a
to
win
get one
show.
and out. I want Aaron Rodgers to win and go on to beat the Falcons.
But you last week you said
Oh
you wanted
wait,
the
no, I
Falcons.
don't want them to be. I want them to face the Falcons, and the Falcons tear them up. But I mean, I wish I could take it back because Aaron Rodgers is on a roll, and I definitely think it's gonna be Patriot Green Bay Super Bowl. But I gotta stick to my old. thing because I don't no takebacks. So you know what? I believe in Falcons.
So for the NFC matchups this week, they are Seattle versus Atlanta. And I think Atlanta definitely has the edge because their offense compared to the offense of Seattle is much better. But I feel like their defenses right now, the Seattle defense just has not been the same defense.
But then
And
again,
then
it
yeah,
happens sometimes. You never know with the Seattle players. Say, it'll be
yeah,
like,
exactly.
hey, I'm gonna play shit today, and then all of a sudden they go off. Hopefully they
And
do good.
then the other game, the probably the biggest anticipated matchup in the NFC is really it's really no the young guy versus the veteran. Who's gonna weigh out? Who's gonna play off better? I mean, the Dallas do have home field advantage. They're in Jerry World, and if something goes wrong with Dak, they can easily throw in Tony Romo.
Boy, I think they
So
should start Romo.
if something's 13-2, why fix it?
Yeah,
I
if
don't
it's
see
not
why.
broke, don't fix it.
Exactly.
But I still think Romo's better. But what's it called? I think Dak is gonna break under pressure, and they will have to substitute him for Romo. That's what I think is gonna happen. But right,
Mhm. So
all right,
those are that for the NFC matchups.
right. So let's do your segment called Pooper Scooper. Start.
All right. So for my poop and scooper, both of my players that I've selected were making their playoff debuts, and I'm talking about Le'Veon Bell of the Steelers and Odell Beckham Jr. for the Giants. So my scooper, of course, is Le'Veon Bell. He had 175 yards on scrimmage, which included 167 rushing yards, which was a Steelers franchise playoff rushing record. He also had two rushing touchdowns. He was one touchdown away from tying Franco Harris for the most rushing touchdowns in Steelers history. And I feel like for your debut, this is a fantastic way, and it gets him ready for the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, majority, especially in the cold, where Big Ben is not the best, they gave this ball to Le'Veon Bell. I mean, Le'Veon Bell just played fantastic. He found the right gaps, and he
Mhm.
burst right through. And he was taken out midway through the fourth quarter to save him from injury. So my pooper is Odell Beckham Jr. And mainly for the fact, well, the boat trip. I feel like that was a big big mishap for all the wide receivers. Victor Cruz really should have led his wide receivers properly as a veteran. And I've Odell. Let's go back to the game. He had four receptions for 28 yards, and he had three drops. One which was open, he could take that for 20 yards. One which was a questionable touchdown, and another one early in the second half. He had this was this is his second worst game in terms of receiving yards, and in my opinion, his worst game because of situation. I feel like when you're the best player on the Giants team,
And
you're the face of this
crash.
franchise. Exactly, you crash in a playoff game. I
Yeah.
feel, and this also opens questions that is he going to be a fantastic player in the regular season, and then be a flop in the playoff game? I mean, there's a lot of controversy heading up to the game, but I feel like if he wants to make it as the greatest wide receiver of all time or be up there with the greats, you need to have success in the playoffs. And I feel like this is not the way he wants to start off his young career.
I mean, I agree, but I feel like um he plays way too emotionally. Like he'll play if he's having a bad day, like something I don't know, something happened at home or whatever, right? Something like that. I don't know, whatever, right? Whatever the scenario is, he'll play emotionally and he will either do really shit or really good, right? So it's like it's hard to tell. It's the same thing with the Seattle defense. That's how I feel he's like. Because he plays way too emotionally. Sometimes you're good, sometimes you're bad, and you never know. And unfortunately, choked. When his team needed him most, and what are you gonna do about it, right? But for me, my Cooper is both of my guys are quarterbacks, right? So the first one is of course Aaron Rodgers with a ridiculous game, 362 yards, four touchdowns, zero interceptions. He threw 62.5% completion, and he had a QB rating of 125.2. So that's pretty good. He is my super of the week, and my pooper is none other than Connor Cook, guy who was making his NFL debut. He's only 23. So it's unfortunate. I mean, he's still young and he has time to progress. But he threw for 161 yards, one touchdown, and three interceptions with a QB rating of 30, and he only had a 40% completion rate. Um, so they needed him, and he failed. But I mean, I predicted this. You can't blame a guy who's never started. Like everybody was super optimistic because he was one of the best in Michigan State. Um, but I don't know. I think that's why he's my pooper because he was rated highly. He was expected to do decent, right? Because of how good. But no, he just tanked. In all honesty. But yeah, that's all I got for NFL. And let's move into NBA. So let's get into some basketball, like I said before. Let's talk about the one and only Russell Westbrook. He is currently averaging a triple-double. Just a fun fact that not many of you guys know, but he has never gotten a triple-double on only 6 teams in the NBA, and one of which are the Chicago Bulls, who we played the other night. But a pretty decent stat line, I would say. 21 points, 14 rebounds, and one assist shy of getting a triple-double and crossing Chicago off its list, which I feel pretty bad about because, you're so close, but you're so far. Um, but he's still pretty good. So this is my honest opinion. Feel free to butt in, tell me what you feel. I'm trying to not be biased here, but the MVP race is between him and James Harden. James Harden is 2 rebounds per game off of a triple double, and both of these guys are having a monster season regardless of what you say. Um, Another fun fact: they're the only two people since Michael Jordan to have more than one 40-point triple doubles. Um, James Harden just got another one last night. So I mean, who do you think? If you had to pick
I
one of
already
the
said
two,
it, Westbrook.
you'd pick Westbrook?
Yeah.
Why do you think Westbrook instead of Harden?
Well, I mean, first of all, Westbrook is the only good player on that team. He's had to carry this team in the post-Durant era. Second of all, he has better stats than Durant. And
If
third,
your
if we're
team
going to
doesn't
pick,
make it to the playoffs,
I mean, his team is really assured in the playoffs, so he doesn't
they're
have to
not
worry
gonna
about
make
anything.
they're not gonna make it.
They're sixth place in the Western Conference or fifth place. They have a really good chance of making the playoffs. I just feel like yeah, like I said, he has more stats. If we're going to look at triple doubles, he also has more triple doubles than Harden. And the reason why I'm not saying Harden has other good players like he has Eric Gordon, who's just been chucking up
Trevor
threes like a
Ariza,
monster. Exactly. He has good better players than Westbrook has surrounding him.
yeah, probably. Yeah. So I mean, it's borderline difference. But yeah. So talk about your guys.
All right, so I'm gonna be talking about the controversial man for the Knicks right now, and that is their starting point guard Derrick Rose. So for those who don't know, he did not show up to his Monday night game against New Orleans Pelicans. The Knicks did lose 110 to 96, and their star player Carmelo Anthony, and not their star player, but it's a guy, Kylo Quinn. They're both ejected within minutes of each other in the third quarter, and this basically led to a Knicks self-destruct, as they were pretty close, and then they just lost the game 14-0 to a depleted, I mean not to be an awful New Orleans offense. So back to Rose anyway. He claims to have missed the game to spend time with his family in Chicago. More specifically, his mom was having health issues. This led to the Knicks finding Rose, which I felt was a lot of hand. I mean, you're gonna have to, you're gonna want to spend time with your mom if she's in a bad position.
But I feel like it was kind of a bad move. Just go off the grid completely. I mean,
Like,
he didn't tell
if he would
anybody.
tell,
If he
yeah, he
told them, that
told.
would have been different. But he didn't tell
I
anybody.
understand. It was a little irresponsible. He maybe should have told his team or whatever. But I think he didn't really know. It's not really his responsibility in the sense he's not forced to. He's a grown man. He can make decisions, and it did lead to some negative impacts. He is arguably their second best player after Porzingis, and this absence may jeopardize his chance of the Knicks re-signing him in the summer, which I think is ridiculous. You miss one
No
game.
way. I don't think. No. Was that an
Yeah,
actual claim? Is that what they said?
yeah, yeah. It says it's going to jeopardize his thing. I mean, he's put up decent numbers: 17.3 points, 4.5 assists, 3.9 rebounds, shooting 44%. And I feel like that's a little harsh over one game. I understand you guys did lose, but it's kind of a, I don't know. I think it's a little
That's
overreacting. But fine,
massive overreaction.
exactly.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. So I think the Knicks offense. I feel like they're only saying that in the heat of the moment, but I feel like if that were to to actually happen, it'd be unfair for Derrick Rose, in my opinion.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's ridiculous.
But in good news for him, the coach did start him for tonight's game against Philadelphia, which they are currently winning. So
I don't think it's all hard for them. One thing that I have to add. Do you have any more points before I interrupt you?
no, no more.
No more? Alright,
Go
so real
first.
quick, I'm just gonna talk about um the Cleveland Cavaliers. They in fact have they made a trade with the Atlanta Hawks. They got Kyle Korver, one of the best point shooters. They got Mike in exchange for Mike Dunleavy, Mo Williams, and a protected future first round draft pick. What do you think of the trade?
I don't know. I think they did the right trade. I feel like the players that they traded were garbage.
Yeah,
And I
barely
feel
saw
like
playing time
Kyle
anyway.
Korver, he's 36. But I feel like he's a good backup shooting guard, especially with J.R. Smith out for a couple more weeks or months or something. I feel like he's a good backup, and even LeBron went on this week and he's like, "Hey Kyle, whenever you get the ball, I just want you to chuck up and just shoot
Yeah,
because
if you want
that's."
to fit into our game style, chuck it up, right? Every time
But I
you
feel
get
like
it.
at the same time, they're missing. He's an awful defender, so I feel like it's a good trade in terms of what they gave up. But I feel like he's not going to be a starting role, but he's definitely going to help the Cavaliers in their push for back-to-back champs.
Hmm. I'm trying to find out. Um, was he with them when they played Phoenix?
No, because the trade was still, I think it just went through.
Okay, so then that means his first game was against the Jazz. Sound about right, right?
Yeah.
Alright, so they lost that game. He went for 18 minutes. Played
Hmm.
for 18 minutes. 3 rebounds, 1 turnover, and 2 points.
Okay. Not bad for a
So,
three-point shooter.
uh, actually pretty bad because he didn't make anything. And that was his whole shtick. So I feel, I don't know. Like, I mean, on paper, right, and you're like, that's a good trade. But now you're like,
Just give some time and he might fit in.
yeah, he might be. Yeah, obviously it takes time. Like the Golden State Warriors. Um, no, Golden State Warriors, they had that nonsense, but they got Kevin Durant, right? So it took them a while. They had a few losses, and then now they're kind of getting into um now, right? So
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know. It's a decent trade. I think they gave up a little bit much, but considering it's 36.
Yeah.
Um, all right. So let's talk about power rankings.
The players of the weeks.
Play. Oh, yes, hit it.
All right. So for the Eastern Conference, the player of the week was Jimmy Butler. He helped lead the Bulls to 3-0 week, which ties their longest winning streak of this season. They've had a pretty abysmal season. He had a league-leading 38 points, which went with 9.3 rebounds and 6.3 assists. I mean, at the free throw line, I'm pretty sure he had, like, for guards, he had the highest free throw percentage. I know in the game against the Hornets, he went 21 of 22, and he missed his first one and made it next 21. Against the Cleveland Cavaliers, he went 3 for 4. Isn't the best, but it's still pretty good. And then against the Raptors on Saturday, he went 18 for 20. Another thing to add is that in the 42 points, which he put up against the Raptors, 40 points came in the second half. So 2 points he scored. I mean, 2 points he scored in the first half, 40 in the second half, which broke Jordan's 26-year record of 39 points in the second half. This also helped as he took a 3-point step back to help secure the win over the Toronto Raptors. And in that 3-game period, he averaged 16.7 points in the fourth quarter. Some players in this league don't even average that in an entire game. So, he played exceptionally well, and he broke two records for the Bulls this week, and it helped a lot. For the Western Conference Player of the Week, it was Stephen Curry. He helped lead the Warriors to 3-1. He averaged 31.8 points. He had 5.5 assists, 4.5 rebounds, and he scored at least 30 points in 3 of the 4 games, and he also had his second 40-point outing of the season. In this 4 game thing, like the 4 game run of last week, he became the 7th Warrior player to score 12,000 career points, which is a big milestone for him. And he actually shot 50% from the field and 39.1% from 3-point range, which is higher than his current season average. And in the month of January so far, I mean, the month just began, but he's really been playing like the Curry we saw last year. So it looks good right now for
A
them.
little late though.
Yeah. I
But
mean,
I mean,
it's not
yeah,
late,
it's
but
late.
it's
Halfway
mid
through the season,
mid
you
form.
decide to,
I mean, they still have the best record, so it's not that late. I
Oh,
mean, he still played good, but he's just playing even better. But yeah,
by the way, one quick thing I forgot to mention. He was actually with Phoenix, when they won, but he
on
got
the
zero.
game.
He
Oh,
got
okay.
0 minutes though.
Oh, so yeah.
So I mean, he doesn't really do good anyways. I mean, he's pretty shit. I don't know why they gave all that. Whatever. I'm just gonna pretend that didn't happen. Stupid, stupid. But and also, what do you think about this? Right? I just read this now. People are saying, is J.R. Smith threatened by the Corver edition? No. If you say
I
yes, something's wrong.
absolutely not. I feel like it's
J.R.
not
Smith is a
threatening in the sense
legend.
that he needs to be worried, but I feel like if he has a bad run, they're gonna throw Corver into the mix.
Yeah,
So
and then
I
if
feel
he
like
does better, that I hope he is.
yeah,
I don't think he's
I
good.
feel like
Anyways,
J.R. Smith is basically, in my opinion, the same player as Corver. They
oh,
both
J.R.
just
Smith's
love
better.
shooting.
Yeah, but J.R.
I
Smith.
know they're basically the same, like the game style.
Yeah, game style. Like I mean, Kyle Korver, he's averaging 9.3 points per game, 2.3 assists per game, and 2.8 rebounds per game. Right?
Hmm.
I mean, that's not very good. Um, I don't know if I can find it in time, but J.R. Smith, he's averaging. Okay, he's not okay, and that didn't happen.
Yeah,
All
because
right.
he hasn't played since like the middle of early December.
Yeah, his stats are a lot worse, but
Yeah.
obviously, like you said, he hasn't played. Um, anyway, so let's get into power rankings. Let's start with number one, Cleveland Cavaliers. They maintain their spot. Spurs, they've gone up two. Rockets are three. Warriors are fourth. Celtics are fifth, and the Raptors are sixth after they drop out of the fifth spot. Fun fact: Warriors lost to a 24-point lead
To the
against the
Memphis
Grizzlies.
Grizzlies.
Yeah, so that was pretty fun. Another
And in the
meme.
game, actually, I mean, if those, I'm pretty sure you guys, probably people saw it on social media, was the fact that Draymond Green was just absolutely giving it to Durant. He was just screaming at him.
Yeah, in the fourth
It was,
quarter, he wanted the
yeah.
ball or something. He kept giving it to Curry.
And, he was just taking bad one-on-ones. It was just
Oh,
bad game from him, and he just
that's what
wasn't.
I read. I don't know. Who really knows though? I don't. I dislike Draymond Green. He's a very rude, cocky player with no respect. But call it what you want. But so yeah, let's get into soccer. Heard you have a
All
lot
right,
of soccer, so
all right.
load it.
So let's talk about the English Premier League. So this weekend, nothing interesting. We're just FA Cup matches, no major upsets. But this weekend, we do have two big matchups. We have a derby between Liverpool and Manchester United. Liverpool trying to push it for second, and Manchester United, who've won their last 6 games but have stayed in the exact same place, are trying to push up. Another big matchup are the current leaders, Chelsea, are playing it against the defending champions, Leicester City. The reason why it's a big match is because it's this year's first place versus last year's first place. This year, Leicester City has been definitely playing not like the champions of last year. So as I mentioned every single episode for the past 2 weeks, it is the January transfer window. So the biggest transfer in for England was Manchester United's Morgan Schneiderlin has gone to Everton for 22 million euros. He fell out of favor with the new manager Jose Mourinho, and hopefully he can get back to the form that he was in 2 years ago with Southampton. And he can be a good midfielder for Everton. Another big transfer is the Chelsea captain John Terry, who hasn't played a game, hasn't started a match since September. Bournemouth are eyeing a loan deal for him for the rest of the season to get him some playing time. Um, so,
Think of that.
maybe as a Chelsea fan, I don't want that to happen because I feel like he hasn't uh he hasn't left Chelsea since I think 90 since he came here in 1998. He hasn't left Chelsea, and I feel like it would be sad if he were to go. Even though it's only like 5 or 6 months, it would just be sad to see him have it play for another team. Even though he's not playing and he wants to play because he's a footballer, he has passion for the game. I
Does
just
he,
don't want it to
does he
happen.
not start? Is that why?
Yeah, he
Oh,
doesn't start because he's
he's
old and
old,
our
yeah.
other three defenders are better
I mean, I feel like it's a good idea. Like, I mean,
for
like,
him. Yeah.
no, like for everybody. Think about it, right? If you like John Terry, if you actually like him, you want to
Mhm.
watch him play.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're a John Terry fan, then you want him to play.
But see, like, if
If
you're a
if you're
Chelsea
a
fan,
Chelsea fan,
you see
you
him as a
don't
legend and
you see him as a
icon.
and you don't want him to go. But you gotta think about it. You'd be like, if he's really I know he's a Chelsea legend and icon. But, I mean, you gotta give the guy playing time, right? There's no point on having him on your team for no reason. Like,
Hmm.
come on, man. But I don't know.
So, Real Madrid, they've extended the undefeated streak to 39 undefeated matches. Right now, they're sitting 5 points atop of the La Liga. Barcelona had a 1-1 draw that was almost a 1-0 loss, and Messi, man, Messi the magician, came up in the 90th minute with a free kick. That guy, I mean, he's clutch. That's all I have to say for Barcelona and
Hmm.
for Argentina. This 90th minute free kick with all the stuff on the line. I mean, unfortunately, it was still a draw, and they did lose 2 points. So now they fall into third place with 35 points, and right now second place, shock is Sevilla. I mean, I didn't expect Sevilla. I expected the big three to be Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, and Barcelona. So it's kind of weird seeing Sevilla in second place. So a big
Are Real Madrid still undefeated? What you said?
Yeah, and in the season and in the La Liga season, they're still undefeated. Yeah. So Real Madrid, in fact, will face Sevilla. So it's first versus second this weekend. So if Sevilla were to knock off the undefeated leaders, this would put them within 1 point of the champions. But if Real Madrid are to win, that would make the streak 40, and it would mean they would have a 7 point. They would have an 8 point gap over Sevilla. No, 7 point gap over Sevilla, which would be amazing for them. As you know, we're a couple months away from the end of the season, especially for mid season form. It's a 7 points is a fantastic gap. So as we talked about last week, the Chinese Super League has signed another two honorable names.
Ridiculous.
So one wasn't a big fee. There was John Obi Mikel. He also fell out of favor for Chelsea. He left for 9.5 million euros. Wasn't a big fee. But the other one was Zenit midfielder Axel Witsel. He has been subject to a move to China. All we know right now is that he will make 20 million euros a season, but the Chinese club and Zenit have not disclosed a transfer fee. But people have reported that it's going to be within 45 to 60 million euros, which is still a lot of money because I feel like he's not worth nowhere. He's not even worth 30 million, in my opinion,
But like you said before, they're just doing it.
to show off the money, to
Not really
flex the
just to show off
money.
the money, just to get more attention.
Yeah. So another transfer that wasn't an abysmal fee was Julian Draxler, midfielder for Wolfsburg. He left Wolfsburg to go join PSG for 35 million euros, and there's a potential 10 million if PSG are able to make the Champions League semis next season, and if he is to, pretty sure if he places top 50 next year's FIFA Pro All List, then they also get additional money. So this is probably the biggest transfer in Europe since the transfer window started. So, in other news, and I think probably the biggest news in my opinion, the World Cup format has changed. After 19 years, the World Cup has been 32 teams, and now it has changed to a 48 team World Cup. So
So
it's not
so
going to take
weird.
effect. It's weird, but it's nice. But the
It's so
effect,
weird.
it's not going to take effect until 2026
Hmm.
for that World Cup. So what this means is that FIFA will pocket an extra $975 million. So what this also does is it changes up the format. So now instead of there being 8 groups of 4, there's now 16 groups of 3, and that means the top 2 teams from each group will go on to the round of 32, and it will continue in a knockout fashion. So 32, 16, 8, 4, 2, and then champion. So FIFA did this in an attempt to have other continents have representation. So my question for you is that, do you feel like this is an extra way to gain more revenue for FIFA, or do you believe they're generally trying to have other continents being represented in the World Cup?
Uh, it's a good question. I mean, it's I don't know. It's tough. Like I'm telling you right now. Like I feel like it's definitely a money grab. Like they want to get money. Um, and it's tough because I mean, like you could say that, oh yeah, they want to give it to other continents, but I feel like there's way too many. Um, Wait, that's way too many teams, man. And groups of 3, like that's it.
Yeah, I
Like
think, yeah,
and top 2, like come on, there's like no competition.
I guess makes
There's
sense.
no competition, and it's definitely a money grab. Like I mean, think about it. If it was the 3 worst, um, worst teams in, let's say, one group, right? 2 shit teams are still getting in to round of 32. It's a waste of time. Antarctica, let's say they have a stupid. I know they don't, but like, let's just say they do, right? They have a chance to get in. Iceland, maybe they get in again, right? But they're actually pretty. Um, I'm just saying. I think it's a money grab. I don't think they really care that much. I know they're gonna make all that money. You say they're gonna make almost $1 million.
A billion,
A
almost a
billion.
billion.
Sorry. Whoa, that changes it a lot. But and they're gonna make so much money off of flags and all that shit. I just think it is ridiculous, and I think that you're adding way too. Like, I mean, hell, yay, let's bring everybody into it. You already know that it's like one of the most watched things ever. I
Yeah.
don't understand why you're trying to add more teams, and you know, I don't know. I think it's stupid, and I feel like it's a waste of money, a waste of time for everybody. Especially because, like, just like I said, like I'm just gonna expand on my point of no competition, right?
Hmm.
Or loss of competition. For example, um, let's say you have Spain, Germany, and Italy,
Yeah.
right, in a group. Those are
Oh,
argu
yeah. Jeez.
three. I'm gonna go ahead and say 3 best teams.
Yeah.
Debatable, whatever, blah blah blah. But one of those teams has to go. But you
Mm.
know that they could beat out half the teams, maybe have a lucky game and beat everybody, right? But I mean,
Yeah.
I just think B is not good, especially because the top 2 are going in.
Mm.
I think there's no competition.
Yeah, I see what you mean. 'Cause, I mean, if you have 2 good teams, then the team at the bottom or the worst team is automatically out. And I think
It's
it just,
unfair almost because
yeah,
if you're going against the best team in the world and you know that you could be a contender for, semifinals, quarterfinals, whatever, but you get stuck and screwed in the round because you have amazing competition, that's
yeah,
no fun.
easy. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So I mean, it's like battle of the really good teams and then battle of the shit teams, right?
Hmm.
I don't know.
And what it also does is that now, instead of there being, for before, to get to the World Cup, you would have to win 4 matches would have won you the World Cup in the playoff stage. So now it's gonna be 5. So I think it puts an additional strain on players. And this tournament is supposed to last, like in this playoff tournament
It's
format,
gonna
it's
take
supposed
so
to be 30.
long.
Yeah, it's 32 days, which is an increase from 28. So it's only 4 additional games, but that means they're gonna squish all these games together. I mean, I
The
love
players
soccer,
are gonna
but
be tired and
yeah, I love
like
soccer, but I don't love soccer enough to watch 5 games a day. Like
yeah, like that's football.
passion,
They
yeah.
have like only one day.
It's gonna be interesting. I feel like this is definitely gonna be. I think they're gonna go down. I think 32 is
Really?
gonna be. Yeah, I mean, it's not good. Like you said, 3 teams in a group. It's so small. There's no competition at all. I
Oh,
I think it's definitely
Portugal. Like it's not fair. You're gonna have a bunch of shitty teams seeping in through the cracks, right?
exactly.
And it's just gonna be no fun. Like I want to watch Italy Portugal matchup. I want to watch Spain Germany. I want to watch France and other good team. I don't want to watch like I don't know
India and
and
Bangladesh.
Ghana or something. Like it's not. I'm not gonna watch that. And I think their ratings Or like you would think, oh look, there's so many more games, the ratings are gonna go up. You realize if they're teams that nobody cares about, nobody's gonna watch them, right?
They're not going to go down, but they're not going to be increase as much as
Yeah,
they
they're not gonna.
expect it
No,
to
I
be.
don't think they're gonna increase barely at all, honestly.
Yeah.
Like if you have like you just said, Ghana or India or whatever we said, right? All those
Mhm.
teams, if they play against each other, how many people do you really think are gonna watch? How many people do you that'll make a difference anyway?
Yeah.
Like I just think it's can you
And I feel like, they got rid of Sepp Blatter, which was a very controversial figure, and he was really all about the money. And they go to this new guy, and he's like, yeah, why don't we change up the beloved World Cup and let's just add an addiple $1 billion? Yeah, definitely not going to question people about
yeah.
whether or not FIFA is just
I
a
actually like
business.
money, but don't tell people that. So you get I don't
Yeah.
know.
So, on the same foot of FIFA, the FIFA World Awards were given out on Monday night. So I'm just gonna go through this list fairly quickly. Ronaldo, as many expected, was the best male athlete. I mean, best male footballer last year. 55 goals, 17 assists, and he had 35% of the votes to edge out Messi, Griezmann. The female footballer of the year was the American midfielder Carly Lloyd. She had 17 goals in 21 matches for the U.S. national team. The
Also,
Puskas,
those are pretty Carly Lloyd.
slide in the DMs. So the Puskas goal of the year went to Maud Fai Subri. He's a Malaysian striker. And I mean, the free kick, it defied physics. I mean, the ball was swerving in like 10 different directions. It was an absolutely sensational goal. And we're going to put the link to the video of the goal in the description.
Yep, it's a monster
So
goal.
yeah. So this year's men's coach of the year was Claudio Ranieri. He was the Leicester City manager. He led them to a Cinderella run in the BPL. He guided them to their first English Premier League top flight championship, and it also gave them their first ever Champions League berth, which they haven't wasted. They've now secured themselves in the knockout stages. He managed to edge out Real Madrid manager Zinedine Zidane. I feel like I feel like Zidane should have won. He had as much trophies won as losses last season, which is a fantastic stat. Yeah. So and also on Monday night, the FIFA World 11 was also given out. So this year, the highlight of the team was basically five Real Madrid players and five, I'm gonna say 4.5 Barcelona players because one guy who made the team was Dani Alves, who played half of the year with Barcelona. He now plays for Juventus, of course. So the only other player that didn't play for Real Madrid or Barcelona last year was Neuer, who of course plays for Bayern Munich. So the attackers were Suarez, Messi, Ronaldo. The midfielders were Iniesta, Modric, and Kraus. And the defenders were Marcelo, Dani Alves, wing backs of the year, and Piqué and Sergio Ramos. And Neuer, as I mentioned before, was to fill out the goalkeeper slot. I feel like this was a fair team. The only question positions for me, I feel like Buffon should have been goalie, Griezmann should have been the striker, and Conte should have made it over Kraus. What he did for Leicester was much more influential than what Kraus did for Real Madrid.
Yeah.
So, that's all we have today
But
for
but
soccer.
actually, yeah, for soccer. But I have one more thing. I recently thought about this. It was actually while we were talking about soccer, basketball. Actually, it was about soccer, how we were talking about divisions. So my question is, they did this in hockey, right? And they swapped up all the divisions and all the players. Do you
Mhm.
think if they did that in football, well, do you think that's a good idea, first of all?
Wait, what do
Like
you mean?
swap
Like,
up like the teams in each division. Like I know obviously they're East,
what do you
North,
mean by
whatever, right?
wait? Hold on. What do you mean by swap up? I'm like confused.
So basically, when they did in the NHL, right?
Mhm.
They changed teams' divisions. Like
Oh,
they
like so,
changed.
like they switched
Yeah,
division.
I know. Like
Oh.
obviously these in a perfect world, they can't do that obviously because they have NFC East, NFC North, right? They have directions.
Mhm.
But let's just say hypothetically they change that, right? And they just
Yeah.
have divisions. Do you think that if you swap a bunch of different teams, it'll come different outcomes?
Okay,
Do you think it won't matter?
I wouldn't want to change the conferences. I would like to leave the conferences. But one thing that I like about basketball, football, and soccer, I don't like how in football there are wild card and you have to win through your division.
Hmm.
I like the fact that the top, let's say, 8 teams or top 6 teams for in playoff. That's how in the NFL that's how it work would go through. Because I feel like 2 seasons ago, the Carolina Panthers they made it. They had they had an under 500 record. They went 7-8-1. They made the playoffs. While a good team, I'm not sure who the team was, but a team that was above 500 missed out on the playoffs. And I feel like that's unfair. I would like, I like it how in basketball and hockey, it's conference, so that's how the top 8 teams make it.
Hmm.
And I like in terms that's all I'd want to change. I don't want to see the divisions get mashed up. Or like I feel like it would be nice to like mix them around, but like I like the conferences how they are. But that's the only real difference I would love to see in the NFL.
It would definitely add something. Like if they did that, then it would definitely be a lot harder though. And then we wouldn't have any shit teams like Detroit Lions seeping in. Um, oops, Harry. Um, yeah. So I mean, I don't know, but that's something to think about, right? I mean, they'll probably never do it because no fun league or stupid and I hate Roger Goodell. But
Same.
on that note, we're gonna end it off. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. And yeah, like if you haven't already, feel free to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. And like I said last time, should be somewhere different. Next podcast. We also have a schedule that we're gonna try and stick to. Every video will be uploaded on Friday, just for your viewing purposes. They will be recorded around Tuesday, Wednesday. So if the news is a little bit off, something fun happened, we'll cover it on the next podcast. Don't worry, we won't leave anything out. But that is all. So thank you for watching. Bye.
Goodbye.